recording. So this is Stolen Cherries by Andrew Griffin, who I notice lives in Northampton, so that's nicely placed in England. Exterior, open moorland day. Heavy clouds meander across leaden skies and the heather below shudders in wind-driven waves. A buzzard floats in the breeze watching the ground. Deep rills in the landscape cast dark shadows from the low sun as a small girl glides freely over the patches of bare peat, mimicking the movement of the birds. This is Ellie, 12, smart, inquisitive, dressed entirely in black. She banks and turns, arms outspread, as she matches the bird's movements with uncanny timing. Buzzard's point of view, a shadow below moves independently of breeze. Ellie freezes. Ellie spins to face the shadows, eyes bright blue, searching, nothing. The buzzard drifts away, now a small dot.
I know you're there.
Nothing stirs but the shivering heather. Ellie watches the buzzard disappear into the dale beyond, then turns on her heel, tramps across flat rocks and dry peat towards a large black-clad crowd gathered in a tight circle. One smiling, tear-stained face turns around to face Ellie as she approaches. Alice, 33, Ellie's mother, makes room for Ellie as she squirms her way in. Immediately in front of Ellie is a deep grave, the coffin already strewn with offerings of roses, charms and scatterings of soil. Ellie pulls a small handmade fairy doll from her pocket and drops it carefully into the coffin.
They'll still go with Tharmin.
Witch! We don't want no spells here.
All eyes flick suddenly to Jed, mid-80s and crossing himself, stood opposite Ellie. Janet, 60s, salt of the earth, squeezes his arm gently.
Calm down now, Jed. She's only saying goodbye to her nan, just like the rest of us.
Ellie's now blue-grey eyes watch Jed indifferently as he shuffles uneasily. Alice pulls Ellie closer.
Well, language still has power. She shouldn't.
Let's hope it does. We could all use a little magic in our lives.
Embarrassed smiles pepper the onlookers' faces. As the mourners disappear, Janet nods to two women leaning on shovels. The rhythmic whump, whump, whump of soil on coffin drifts over the moors. Janet stands at the graveside beside Alice, who holds Ellie tight.
Pay no mind, Ellie. All language has power, whether we know it or not.
Alice hooks arms with Janet and all three watch the covering of the coffin as the sun sinks lower. Whump, whump, whump. Exterior, Cherry Creek Tree Farm, night. Schwumph. A match strikes against a box but doesn't light. Again, the fire surges from the tip, settles, then gently lights a spliff. Drawing deeply, Janet hands the joint to Alice. They sit on a dry stone wall, watching the hulking blackness of the moors and the twinkling of stars above. Behind them stands the farmhouse, candles burning in every upstairs window, light and music pouring from downstairs.
She'd have enjoyed that service. Thanks, Janet.
They pass the joint back and forth, blowing smoke out into the night.
My pleasure. She was a great woman, your mum.
She was. She could be a tyrant too, you know.
Aye. A hard taskmaster, all right. But she loved you, like she loved the moors. Maybe she's dancing across them as we sit here, along with all the other shades.
Alice flicks a head of ash from the joint, picks up an empty wine glass and hops off the wall.
I hope so. Come on, I need a top up.
You go ahead. I need to head back.
Okay, go steady.
Alice watches Janet wander into the moor, a small torch edging a path in the darkness. Interior, Cherry Tree Farm, night. The remains of a wake cover the kitchen surfaces. Bowls with small shards of crisps, plates offering that last sandwich, and many glasses stained with red wine are lined up by the sink. The old wooden kitchen table is clear, but for a sketchbook and scattered coloured pens. The drawing in the sketchbook is of the moors, bright spots of colour pepper the landscape, and a grey patch sits to one side. Alice sweeps past, picks up a half-full bottle of red wine, and pours a generous glass. Interior, Ellie's bedroom, night. Ellie's bedroom walls are covered in drawings of the moors, colour drained by the night. A sliver of light cuts across the room and sleeping Ellie as Alice cracks open the bedroom door.
Sleep well, princess.
The sliver of light thins to a thread and disappears. Interior, Alice's bedroom dawn. Grey light filters through the thin curtains to give the room a silvery pallor. The bedside clock shows 6 a.m. Alice lies to one side of the double bed, stirring slowly, rhythmically breathing heavily. She rolls face into the pillow, muffled gasps in time with her body shudders. Interior bathroom morning. Alice checks the temperature of the shower, then disrobes, revealing a body built of years of hard rural life. She steps into the stream of hot water, a deep sigh. Interior kitchen day. A mocha pot burbles and hisses on the stove. A pan of oats bubbles gently next to it. Alice throws on some raisins, stirs them in smoothly. All evidence of the wake has disappeared. Music and dialogue seeps into the kitchen and from a TV through an open door.
Every mother has to think twice, once for herself and once for her child.
Alice pulls two bowls down from a cupboard, plonks them on the table next to two spoons. Interior sitting room day. The TV lights Ellie's face in the darkness, the curtains still drawn against the day.
And no man will change that.
Ellie, it's ready.
Ellie flicks off the TV and ambles from the room. Exterior Cherry Tree Farm day. A battered school bus trundles to a stop at the end of a long pothole track that leads back to the farm. The bus doors hiss open as Ellie bends to kiss. As Alice bends to kiss Ellie's head and hands her the school bag. The doors hiss and groan, closed behind Ellie, and Alice waves as the bus grinds away on the narrow road. Interior school bus day. A sea of expectant faces stare up at Ellie, eyes following her as she walks down the gangway, jolted as the bus lurches. Exterior Cherry Tree Farm day. Alice turns away from the road, starts the long walk back to the farm. Interior school bus day. Ellie slumps next to Stevie, 13, who clears her coat off the seat. She watches Ellie for a moment.
How was it?
Ellie turns and smiles at the girl.
It was okay. Nice to say goodbye. I wish I could have done that for my dad.
Stevie is confused.
But you never met your dad.
Yeah, would have been nice to say hello too. Mom still doesn't talk about him.
Giggling from the seats in front, and an unsympathetic head pops up. Cat 14, all piss and vinegar, sneers back at Ellie. Oh, poor little bastard witch. Lost grandma witch. Couldn't get the fairies to give her back. Cat cackles louder as she sits back down. Ellie stares daggers at the back of her seat in front of her. Ellie's eyes slowly close, turning bright blue as they shut completely. Her face goes slack and her head droops.
He breaks the stone breaks him.
Cat spins back to Ellie, fury across her face. Are you cursing me, bitch? I fucking hope not, or you'll be fucking sorry. Cat punches Ellie hard in the shoulder, startling her from her trance.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Tears dribble from her eyes as fuming Cat sits back down. Exterior school bus day. The bus trundles down the lane. The birds sing and white clouds laze in the blue sky. Exterior Cherry Tree Farm day. A beaten up Land Rover sits quietly in the yard, a trailer full of logs still attached. The dark moor of a barn doorway gives a glimpse of an old tractor, and chickens meander everywhere, pecking at everything. Two cherry trees in full bloom, one either side of the track, stand guard at the entrance to the yard. Alice takes in the glorious colour as she strolls back towards the house. She pulls a broom closer, takes in the scent.
Who knows? Maybe this year.
She releases the branch and heads into the yard. Exterior Cherry Tree Farm day. Whoomp. An axe splits a log, sending two pieces spiraling into large piles either side of the chopping block. Alice wrenches the axe head free and places another log on the block. An expert swing and whoomp, the two halves career to the ground. Alice props the axe up against the block, wipes her sweaty face, and pulls a water bottle from the cab of the nearby Land Rover. The trailer is almost empty. She drinks deeply, gulping the water down, then soaks a handkerchief and massages the back of her neck with it, luxuriating in the calm moment. A deep whinny brings her back to reality. A big black cart horse shakes its head at her over the wooden fence.
Hey, Trotsky. I'll get you next, okay? Just let me catch my breath.
Trotsky whinnies again, wanders back into the paddock. A crackle of static blares from the cab of the Land Rover. Alice leans in and retrieves a large walkie-talkie.
Alice, over.
Sheep all back in the low field. Over.
Thanks, Janet. See you later, okay?
Alice flips the radio onto the passenger seat and heads to the trailer, picking out the last 2 logs. Interior stables day. Trotsky almost purrs as Alice finishes brushing his mane. She drops the brush in the bucket at her feet and releases Trotsky from the lead rope, pushing him back into the paddock. Interior cherry tree farm day. The steel hinges of the gun cabinet squeal as Alice pulls the door wide, revealing a scoped .22 rifle and a shotgun. Lying at the bottom of the cabinet is an old holstered pistol. Alice pulls out the rifle and a box of shells. Exterior cherry tree farm day. The Land Rover door groans as Alice wrenches it open, slots the rifle into a rack on the bulkhead. Exterior open moorland day. The Land Rover zips along the dirt road, occasionally bouncing off small rocks. Over the brow of a hill, and the vehicle slows, picks its way down a rocky section of track towards the reservoir onto a roughly metalled road to cross the dam. Exterior open moorland day. Janet leans against a wonky gatepost, stubs out a cigarette as Alice's Land Rover judders to a stop. She flicks the butt into the air and watches it sail away in the breeze. She carries an old rifle, a large shell pouch slung across her shoulder, and a dog sits obediently at her feet. Exterior open moorland day again. Crack, crack, the shots echo across the moors. Janet's dog, dead rabbits at its feet, pelt away into the heather. Alice and Janet both cradle the guns as Alice kneels to retrieve spent shells and Janet bags the rabbits.
There's so many rabbits this year. It's almost like we didn't cull last year.
It was a mild winter. They react quickly, little bastards.
The dog returns carrying 2 dead rabbits bagged by Janet, then bolts back into the heather, searching for another. Alice looks out over the moor and the landscape beyond.
It's a lot to look after. The rabbits are the least of it. The fencing, rights away, takes its toll.
Janet rolls her eyes.
Oh, spit it out. What's on your mind?
Alice fidgets, clearly uneasy.
It's Ellie. Her premonition is becoming more common. She can't keep it quiet anymore. I think school is difficult for her. The prejudice.
The dog trots back happily with the last rabbit hanging in its jaws, drops it at Janet's feet.
Maybe I should sell up. Do somewhere less traditional.
Your best bet is to find a way to help Ellie control her gifts, not drag her around the country in a vain attempt to find a place that actually fits in.
Isn't it worth considering? She certainly doesn't fit in here.
Alice loads the rifle once more, spotting another rabbit.
She's different, Alice. More different than you or your mum at this age. Your gifts were fading, hers are only getting stronger.
Which is why I should take her away, so she can't be hurt.
Alice sights the gun. Crack, the dog bounds over the heather once again as Janet lifts the dead rabbit at her feet.
Can't be hurt, or can't hurt someone else.
She shoves the rabbit into the bag as Alice's head drops and she breathes deeply.
Both. I just don't know what she's capable of.
Alice shoulders the gun, heads back towards the waiting Land Rover.
One thing's for sure, if she can't control herself, she won't be welcome anywhere. Selling the land isn't the answer. Ellie herself is.
They trudge back to the Land Rover, 2 bags apiece on their shoulders. The dog follows, rooting around in the heather. Exterior cherry tree farm day. Gears grind and the bus judders as it pulls away from the track, leaving Ellie standing by the roadside. She stares at the farm away down the track, quiet and idyllic. Breathing deep, she sets off, follows one tire rut towards the house. Exterior, Alice's Land Rover day. Tires squish through soft peat, kicking up small gobs. That's the end of that excerpt. I'm going to start with you, Chris, as you've got to go.
I really like the slow build. It kind of reminded me of things like Hereditary and Witches, like a couple of those like kind of modern horror or like kind of tense thrillers. I liked how they were setting the scene, and then this last scene when they were talking about these gifts kind of threw me a little bit because it was all seemed like it was building so subtly, and then they just kind of leadenly were like, there's gifts, this is what's happening, where I kind of got a notion of it on the bus, and like it feels like it could be a little bit more delicately handled, like it could be just a shorter conversation. So maybe we could ebb out some of these things. I don't know what the big reveal is going to be. So that's my feeling. But I rather enjoyed most of it. And then kind of like, yeah. And then I was kind of hit by that scene.
Interesting. Thank you. That's great. Who's up next? Erin?
Well, I wonder if this scene was pushed out after maybe some big event happens when she's actually does something with the powers, if it might be a little bit different. But I love the premise. I think that some of the directions could be, like, there was one that was really redundant, could have been shortened into more like one sentence. But I think the descriptions are really good, because it's a lot of action happening, but also the sound effects need to be capitalized, right?
Yep.
And I don't know, I love the premise of this kind of stuff, so I think it's really interesting. I'd really be interested to see what happens. But I think, yeah, I think, like, well, in the first 11 pages it is a lot of action going on, so there's a lot that's not being said, like not actually physically being spoken, but we're actually seeing it, which is really interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, it was difficult to read out loud because there was a lot of action, but but a lot of it wasn't action. A lot of it was setting the scene, and I wasn't sure that a lot of it was really necessary, insofar as it could have been reduced quite considerably. If you, it reads, as I read it, it reads very much like a novel, setting it up, and also the paragraph breaks. Some of those, a lot of those aren't necessary. And I kind of, as I was reading it, I was aware that she was signaling every time, he was signaling every time, sorry, Andrew, for calling you a she, was signaling every time there was any kind of a noise without capitalizing them, you're right. And I'm wondering whether it's necessary, if those, to just kind of signal every time there's a noise. That was just it was just as I was reading it, I was thinking, really, again, another whoomp, another scrump, another.
Well, I wondered if it was significant.
That was starting to get to me, that was.
But I wondered if it was significant to the story with the powers and stuff. Like, does she hear, like, I know you're there, she's like looking and hearing, trying to hear stuff. So it's like there's some sort of echo that goes with that or something, that
So
like
I think
it's like witchy thing that's supposed to go with that, maybe.
In which case it's important that the writer remembers they need to tell people that that is what is intended. And it's not like in a novel where you can kind of eke it out slowly and kind of connect the dots. It's actually an instruction manual as well as a story. So those kind of things you have to sort of say. She has a heightened sense of hearing. That's all that's needed. I'm just trying to see where there was.
It might well be something to do with animals, because of the lovely bit with the hawk at the
Um,
beginning. Some sort of connection with the spirit world of animals.
Nature.
Yeah.
It's a great. You're right, Chris. It's a great start. It's a great build up, and I do agree that last scene kind of brings you down, doesn't it? And sort of makes you think, hang on. Why are they now talking about like this, about her like this? Because they started out so protective.
I thought that maybe came across as a bit more of like an episodic thing, and that was like, this is these people where they are. I don't know. I didn't mind that. I came across as like, oh, this is. I'm thinking sort of Netflix miniseries type. But I could visualize it very well, so I was quite enamored. I found it intriguing.
Yeah, I feel like it was more of like a pilot first episode than a film for me too.
Yeah. It came across episodic to me.
Also, there were on page 8. I noticed it in particular. There's open moorland twice. There's a if that's a later, it's exterior open moorland day, the Land Rover zips along, and then the immediate next scene is exterior open moorland day, Janet leans across the wonky gatepost. So yes, it's a different scene because it's a different,
maybe it
Or
should
is it
be
a different
morning,
shot?
different, but you need
early
to
morning,
yeah,
midnight.
or later, or 5 minutes later could be your scene heading, or
Yeah.
you know, whatever. And then it does it again. In fact, there's 3 open moorlands days, one after the other in scenes without saying where you are. So this is not about whether the story works or not, it's about whether the script works or not as a script, you know.
I mean, I enjoyed it personally. I
Me
got
too.
at the beginning, I got a feeling of like, you know, with the Nevers, where nothing's actually blatant and in your face. It's all mentioned offhandedly. I would like to have seen a bit more of Ellie, especially when she was on the bus, because then the parent and friend conversation, Alice and Janet, would have made a little bit more sense. But I think a good clue was given at the beginning with Ellie speaking Irish. So there is definitely something druidic about her. And I did enjoy that, but like you say, far too much description. You know, like you say, you know, the Moors day, the Moors day. No, just put Moors early morning, Moors midday, something like that to break it up, or just delete them completely.
I think what
Have it all as one, the Moors.
I think the thing is, it's a continuous journey. So she's missing out the Moors, top of the hill, and then the next one's in the ditch, continuous, and then the next one is, you know, by the gate, continuous, and you're still on the Moors, but you're on a journey, and you've broken it up into scenes. I think what the formatting and the way it's written, and I may be wrong, but it kind of signals that the writer hasn't particularly got their head around a script as opposed to a story. The story's panning out really great, but the script needs to be a script.
I also think that if this is Ellie's story, like John is saying, that there's not enough Ellie in it, if this is actually her story, or is it Alice's story and her point of view of Ellie? Because I think that's really important to establish too, because I feel like it's Ellie's story, but then we're not getting as much Ellie as we should then.
Well, they're talking about Ellie though. I mean, it is the first episode by the looks of it. Well, I think it's an episode.
Yeah, so there's it's like establishing, I guess. So, but maybe just a little.
I thought, as I say, that I thought the visuals were easy to grab and well put together. I thought it was very intriguing, and the characters were pretty good. Although I don't know why I was doing that accent, and I came out with it, and I thought I better stick with it. So apologies, I don't know why I was in Devon.
Well, because you did it. We all have to do it.
But I mean, that's another thing.
Great.
Where exactly is it set, and when
Well,
is
it
it
mentions
little
the
ambiguous.
Dales. It mentions the
it does say
Dales, so
so,
that's
okay, so-
Yorkshire or the Peak District.
Completely the opposite direction, but never mind. I didn't hear that bit. Sorry, but I wasn't. It
maybe
was a
it was
little
just a load of-
ambiguous as to when it was. I wasn't quite sure. At the beginning, it sounded a lot older than it did further on in the script.
Yeah, I was confused with the guns as well.
Yeah.
Because yes, you can have a rifle and you can have ammunition, but you can't have a pistol.
That's true. If it's in the UK,
all handguns are banned.
That's
in the
true.
UK.
That's true.
So that confused me a little
That's
bit.
bizarre for you, Chris. I know.
Yeah, I know. It's so nice to hear. I was just saying, so nice. Jeez.
I'm not sure if I
You
might
can
have
have a
spotted a couple
rifle
of
for
typos as
shooting
well.
animals, you know,
They might want to give it a
on a
proofread.
farm, but you can't have a pistol or any other weapons. And even when you do have a rifle or something, or shotgun for shooting, you know, animals that are hunting or whatever, you have to have a license. That's, you know, you have to pass all sorts of criminal checks. And
Well, that's going to come into play. That pistol is going to play some part in it. Chekhov's gun. That pistol's going to come back strong.
yeah,
That's why that pistol's there. So that's what the writer may want to look into that. That's going to be big.
I mean, another thing, I know it's finicky, but if you're on a farm, you don't have a 2-2 rifle, you have a shotgun.
yeah.
Definitely for rabbits.
They might want to do some extra research if they're setting it in a particular place. But that,
Yeah.
then again, I mean, is it? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a teeny bit ambiguous as to where it is with regards to, I don't know, that sort of stuff. Is it actually meant to be in that place, or is it somewhere like, I don't know, it sort of didn't totally come across realistic with those sort of things.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit more research with regards to.
I mean, if it's set in the 50s, then you can have the pistol. If it's set modern, you can't.
Again, yeah, I suppose, when is it set? Where is it set? It needs.
Yeah, I
little
mean,
more
if you want to set
clarification.
it, if you want to set it in the 20s or 30s in England, you can have as many weapons as you want.
Yep.
Because we didn't bring in
Just
guns
load it up.
until
No
about the end
tasers,
of the
though. No
30s.
tasers. But,
I mean,
on the
I'm
whole,
gonna
I
do
was
a Peaky
intrigued by it.
Blinders on it.
I
I
liked
think,
it a lot.
isn't this something that we say time and again, though, is always what's the location and what's the time? Is it the present day? Or, those are the two things that come up the most frequently.
And lack of character description, yeah.
I wondered if it was like a different dimension almost too. Kind of has,
Maybe,
you know,
yeah.
some series and things are set like they don't really have that. Like sometimes it's really important to the story, like, and then sometimes it's like maybe like a different dimension or something. I was wondering
No, I
that
was
too.
getting a bit, and this is a very British reference, I was getting a bit of Vera coming in there, you know, that
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of Northumberland scenery.
Been on Vera 5 times.
Have you?
Yes.
Well done. It's one of my favorite programs. It's got
I'll have to
great
Google it.
music.
Wonderful music.
If you haven't watched Vera, check it out. It's a
And Brenda
very
Blair.
gentle detective. She's a very gentle detective set in Newcastle, or on the outskirts of Newcastle on Tyne, up in the north, Geordie land.
VERA. I'm adding it to my list.
VERA. Yeah, you might find it on, I don't know, somewhere YouTube.
It'll be on one of the
Someone-
ITV hubs.
ITV Hub, it'll be on. It's a great series, and it's a very, but she's, and what's her name? Brenda
Brenda
Blethyn.
Blessing.
Brenda Blethyn's
She's
Oscar
a
winning.
wonderful actress.
Oh, she's a
Fabulous
great actress.
Yes,
I like
she
her.
is.
And my
Yeah.
first day on set, we'll have this discussion after.
I think I have to say goodbye, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay then,
Bye,
thank you,
Chris.
Chris.
Nice
Thank
to see you,
very much.
Chris.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
You
you.
too. Nice to see
Bye.
you. Have a great day.
We're still recording, so